Okay, we are holding the fifth reading today. This is the portion of Boy. We are holding on chapter 12, verse number 21. Here, Moshe Yisrael and Moshe Rabbeinu called all the elders of the Jewish people. And he told them, draw forth and buy yourself a sheep. The mishpechei seichem to your families. The shachtu es hapasach, and you will sacrifice the carbon pesach. Now she says, whoever has sheep shall draw from his own. Whoever ukhu, and whoever doesn't have sheep shall buy it from the market. The mishpechei seichem to your family, as the Torah tells us, sell a bayis. You have to have a sheep for each family. Then you shall take a bunch of hyssop. It's valta and you'll dip it into the blood. Asher besaf, which is in the basin. You put the blood in the basin. You got you shall extend it to the intel and into the two doorposts. Minadam from the blood. Asher besaf, that's in the basin. And nobody should leave the house. They should stay in the house until the morning. Ashes Azav is a specific herb that has thin stalks. Agudas Azav, what is a bunch? It's considered at least 3 stalks is considered a bunch. Asher Basaf, that's in the basin, that's in the vessel. And Adam Asher Basaf, why does the Torah repeat it again from the blood that's in the basin? So that we should not say that the Torah one immersion for all 3 sprinklings. Therefore, it says that's in the basin to indicate that every sprinkling shall be from the blood that's in the basin. For each touching is an immersion, is necessary. You need to have 3 times. You need to dip the aids of this hyssop. You need to put it 3 times into the basin of blood. This tells us that once the destroyer is given permission to destroy, he does not discriminate between righteous and wicked. And the nighttime is the time of destroyers, and give him permission. As it says, which every beast of the forest moves about at night, and therefore stay home. If it's Mitzrayim, the Eibishter will go over to smite the Egyptians. If you'll see the blood that's on the lintel, on the 2 doorposts, and the Eibishter will jump over this door. He won't give the destroyer the capability to come into your house to give his plague. I'll have pity. This may also be rendered, he'll skip over again. Remember the Rashi of yesterday that there's 2 ways of expressing the concept of ufasach. Either it means that'll have mercy or jump over. Now he'll not give, he will not grant the ability to enter, as in, but God did not permit. And God and you shall watch this thing. To do the Passover Seder every generation. And when you're going to come to the land, come to pass, you'll come to the land. Which God will give to you. As he has said, you should observe the service of the carbon Pesach. Torah makes the commandment contingent upon the entry of the land. This is an interesting thing, because the Jewish people were 40 years in the desert. But in the desert, were obligated only to bring 1 Passover sacrifice. The one they performed the 2nd year, which they did by divine mandate. So really, they didn't do the carbon Pesach all the years in the desert, besides the 2nd year. So until they came to the Eretz Yisrael, they didn't do the Passover sacrifice. Only 1 year in the desert. Kasha Dibar, Vehechen Dibar, whether he promised them in the Shemais, yes, last week's Parsha, and I'll bring you to the land. And when your children will tell you, what is this service to you? You shall say. This is the question. What is this question? Is this the Rasha in your Haggadah? Or this the Chacham? It's a Passover sacrifice to the Lord. Asher Pasach Abati b'nei Yisrael, which he passed over the house of the Jewish people in Egypt. B'nokeh Mitzrayim, when he plagued the Egyptians, Vesbetenu Hitzil, and he saved our houses. Ayikadon v'yishtochu, and the people prostrated, they bowed down on this information. Now she says, what did they bow down for? Absurd Sagula, that the Eibishter promised them that the Mashiach is coming. We're going out of Galus, Bias Eretz, that we're all going to be in Eretz Yisrael, Absurd Banim, and that they will have children. In the future, they'll have children. Baruch Hashem. The Jewish people went, and they did. Hashem is Moshe, which God commanded Moshe, and Cain also. This is what they did. Now she says, now what? Now they did it already. Wasn't it said that it said that them on his Chodesh? So this was done already. But since they accepted upon themselves to do it, Torah credits them as if they have already done it. Because it's going to happen the 10th day, and they're taking it on the 10th day, and then they're going to shecht it on the 14th day. So the Eibush said, that they did it, is as if they've done it already. Here we see that the Eibush considers the going to a mitzvah, that the given reward as if you've done it. This comes to tell us the greatness of Jews. They did not omit anything from all the commandments of Moshe and Aaron. And what is the meaning? So they did it. Moshe and Aaron also did it. Not only did the Jewish people follow Moshe and Aaron, but Moshe and Aaron themselves did what they commanded the Jewish people. That completes the Chumash for today. We'll now go to the Tanya of today. We are in the 18th chapter of Tanya. The Alter Rebbe asked the question. We ended yesterday off with a question. How did we inherit this from the Avos? How do we inherit? How do we inherit the love of God from the Avos? How is this concept inherited? That's how he ended off the question yesterday, and now he's going to answer. Because we have to understand who the Avos were. And so too, you'll understand who the Avos were. You'll understand who every tzaddik in history was. What the greatness of these Avos. The explain as follows. Ki Avos, the patriarchs in Kabbalah, in the Zohar, hein hamerkava. They are truly the chariot of God. And that's why it's important to Maaseh Avos, to learn the story of the patriarchs. We give away a whole book, the book of Genesis, all about Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, from Lech Lecha and onwards. They were completely, because we are live with their life. Maaseh Tzadikim. That's why also important the stories of Tzadikim, because we live with them. It inspires us. It teaches us. Because the Avos were not the simple people. They were completely subservient to him, to God, and no other will but divine will. Just as the chariot has no will of its own, but is directed solely by the will of the rider. And therefore, that's the concept of the Avos. That's the concept of a tzaddik. And when you understand the concept of the Avos, that they were totally committed, they were totally subservient, they were totally bottled. Therefore, they merited the privilege to draw down from their soul. They have the capability to, every one of us has a part of their neshama. For all subsequent generations and their descendants. We are called Bnei Yisrael. Bnei Avram, Bnei Yitzchak, Bnei Yaakov. We are their continuation. Ad olam, forever. That's what the Gemara says. Yaakov Avinu leimes. Yaakov Avinu did not die. Zare b'chaim, hafu b'chaim. If he's alive, we're alive. He's alive. Because we are all connected to his neshama. Forever. The nefesh, spheres, tikdeshes, bar, oil, metatzilas, b'yitzir, asir, l'chol, echad, ve'echad, madregas, k'fi ma'asav. So we are connected to them forever. A nefesh, shenuch, nesham, for the 10 spheres of from the 4 worlds of atzilas, bri, yitzir, asir, in which the 4 worlds and from which the spheres within these worlds does the soul originate. So therefore, that's why Avraham Avinu's chesed atzilus. That's what he gave to us. Chesed, true aspect of chesed. And Yitzhak gave us the true concept of self-sacrifice. Gevura. And Yaakov Avinu gave us rachamim and emes. Each individual according to his level and according to his deeds. So each one have 2 things. His level refers to the level, the root of his soul. That's number 1. His deeds refers to one's efforts to refining himself. The question is how much I want to connect to chesed. How much do I want to connect to emes? How much do I want to connect to give myself up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? It's implanted in me, all these capabilities. When one betters himself, he's given a higher deed of soul. So therefore, at any rate, since we have within us, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov already implanted, they inherited, because they did it all for the sake of God and for the sake of Yidden. They had no personal agenda. Their agenda was God. And therefore, the agenda was every single one of us. And that's why they're called Avos, because we are their children. And therefore, so therefore, even the most unworthiest, if there's such a Jew that is unworthiest, and a Koish Yisrael, and even the most sinful Jew, Nimsha Bizivugam, comes through, even though they're very sinful, whatever they are, through their union comes about a nefesh, the level of the nefesh of Malchus Tasiyah. Ultimately, they draw down through their action, their union. They draw down a nefesh from the nefesh of Malchus Tasiyah. Maybe it's the lowest level of all the levels in the upper worlds, but ultimately, Malchus Tasiyah, the attribute of Malchus, of the world of action, is still connected to Malchus Tatzilus. So ultimately, every person's soul is connected to God. So even though if a parent will draw down, because of their sinful life, they draw down a soul that is a very low voltage soul, as we always say, a soul that comes from the lowest levels of the spiritual world, still a spiritual world. It's still that level. This means that when to say that the union of every Jewish couple, no matter how low their spiritual level, brings forth a soul, but at least, the very least, from the lowest level of holiness. This lowest level is the nefesh, the soul, which is the lowest level of soul in the soul itself. As we keep on saying, 5 levels of the soul. The 5th level is nefesh, the lowest level of the soul. And you go to the lowest world, Malchus, of the world of action, which is the lowest level of soul, to the lowest level of world, to the lowest level within that world. So he has extremely, as we say many times, a pintel yid. He has like a little flame. For Asi is the lowest of the 4 worlds, and Malchus is the lowest sphere within that world. Malchus itself is further composed of 3 levels: Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama. Nefesh being the lowest level of that world, of that Sfira Malchus, the attribute of kingship. In addition, and we've seen in the previous chapter, the soul itself consists of 3 levels: Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama. The basic levels has Chai Yechida, has the life, the Ratzin of the soul, and the oneness of the soul. But in the basic components is Naran, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, which is the components of the intellect, the emotion, and the action of the soul. These are the 3 garments of the soul. Thus, one who has given only a Nefesh, which stands from the Nefesh of the world of Asiya. Can you imagine how low is Neshama on the totem pole of spirituality? As the lowest order of soul deriving from the lowest level of spiritual hierarchy, as the Alter Rebbe now goes on to say, Shi Madregas HaTachtena, which is the lowest level of holiness, which is in the world of Asiya. So, you might think yourself, I am a soul that comes from such a low level. What do you expect from a soul that comes from such a low level? I'm so low spirituality. How can I accomplish anything spiritual if my soul comes from extremely a low place in spiritual worlds? So the Alter Rebbe says, stop deluding yourself. Nevertheless, we're talking about spirituality. And therefore, since ultimately your soul comes from a spiritual place, Taka might be a very low spiritual place, but it's a spiritual place. And since holiness is the realm of unity, in holiness is no separation. In this world, you can say where you came from. I came from a powerful family, a very unpowerful family, a very rich family, very poor family. A family has influence, a family doesn't have influence. But in spirituality, there's no competition between Malchus of the world of Asiya and Malchus of the world of Atzilus. So there's no concept, but it's all concept of revelation, but it's not a concept of disunity in the spiritual world. There's no disunity in the spiritual world. The only disunity is in this world, this physical world. But the spiritual world, everything is one. The question is, how revealed is it? Or how unrevealed is it? But it's all the same. Hiklulam ikulam. So the lowest level of Asiya is compounded of all the other levels of Asiya, which includes Chachma of the world of Asiya, wisdom of the world of action, the highest level of Asiya. So within Malchus and the Nefesh of Malchus, the soul of Malchus, which is connected to Chachma of Malchus, and I'm sorry, to Chachma Malchus, which is the Chachma of the world of action. Ultimately, within Chachma Asiya is closed the wisdom of the world of Malchus of Atzilus, wisdom of the royalty world of the nation. As the author explained in chapter 52, we'll learn in Mitzvah, that the sphere of Malchus of Atzilus clothes itself in and illuminates the world of Asiya. So since Malchus of Atzilus, which is the highest level, contains all spheres of Atzilus, the illumination of the Asiya by Malchus thus means that each sphere of Atzilus, as it contains a Malchus Atzilus, garbs itself the corresponding to sphere of Asiya. Chachma the Malchus Atzilus in Chachma of the Asiya, Bina the Malchus Atzilus and Bina Asiya, and so forth. So therefore, ultimately, in the world, if my soul comes from the world of Malchus, of the world of Asiya, in it has within it has the Malchus of the world of Atzilus, which in the Malchus of the world of Atzilus, you have Chachma Atzilus, which in that you have Od Ein Sof, the infinite light of God. As he says, Chachma Atzilus. In Malchus Atzilus is wisdom of Atzilus. Shabab me Od Ein Sof Baruch Hu Mamish, which in turn is illuminated by the actual light of God, infinite God. So ultimately, Od Ein Sof, every Jewish soul, doesn't make a difference where it came from, has Od Ein Sof in it, has a light of God, infinite light of God. Question is, how much is revealed? And by the Avram Yitzchak it was revealed, and therefore they were bottled. They were totally nullified to the light. By us, the light is not revealed, and therefore we have gases. We have gases, we have ego, we have animalisticness, we have physicality, etc., etc. But there's a time we can reveal this light because it's within us. As it's written, that God in his wisdom founded the earth. The words God in his wisdom shows that the light of Ein Sof illuminates the spheres of Chachma. Ultimately, gases is ego. Comes from the word gas is ego. Sphere of Chachma, while the worlds of wisdom founded the earth, indicates that Chachma is clothed within the Malchus, which is called the earth, as we learned many times. Eretz, Eliyena, as we'll learn in Tanya, we've learned this already a couple of times, that Eretz is Malchus, because within it, everything comes within it, like the physical world. Physical Eretz, physical earth. Kol min haaretz, everything comes from the earth. So to Malchus is called Eretz, the earth, so to say, because everything comes within Malchus of that world, and from it comes out everything else comes out from it. So that's why Eretz, Kedusha, Eretz, the Holy Land, Lamaila is Malchus of the world of Atzilus. That's what we learned later on, that the Malchus of the world of Atzilus is straight forward, straight facing this physical world, the Eretz Yisrael, the land of Eretz Yisrael. So Eretz Yisrael, that's why it's called Eretz Hakdesha, the Holy Land, because it's straight connected to Malchus of the world of Atzilus, Eretz to Eretz, land to land, holy land to holy land. And that's why Ein Hashem Elokecha, we'll learn later on, the Alter Rebbe explained, that's why Eretz Yisrael, the eyes of God are upon it, from the beginning of the year to the end. Why? Because Malchus of Atzilus is straightforward. They're like face to face with Eretz Yisrael, with the land of Eretz Yisrael. So, but over here, the important thing is that Malchus is called Eretz, because everything comes into this land and everything reverberates from this land. So wisdom is found in the earth, indicate that Chachma is clothed with the Malchus, which is called earth. So not like the earth, Malchus is the lowest level in this hierarchy. And a further written, in the wisdom, I've made them all. The word made indicates that Chachma is clothed in the Asiya, ultimately in action. So it comes down in Malchus, which Malchus of the world of Atzilus, where Chachma resides in, comes ultimately down in Malchus in the world of Asiya, in the world of action, where the physical world ultimately comes from. So therefore, what Alter Rebbe wants to bring out is the next paragraph. So thus we see that the light of Ein Sof is garbed in the faculty of wisdom in the human soul of whatever sort of Jew you may be, from the most righteous to the most wicked. That's what it says. Yisrael afal pi shachata, Yisrael, whether a Jew is a tzaddik, whether a Jew is chata, is a great sinner, Yisrael, he's still a Jew, because within him he has Ein Sof. Might be very hidden, but it's still within him, because he inherited that. He didn't actually, it's hidden, and it's given to him because he's a child of Avraham Avinu. So in turn, the soul's faculty of wisdom, with the infinite light that's within this wisdom, can ultimately suffice all the levels of the soul entirely. This would need to be done. We need to live by the light of God, by Ein Sof. We need to live a world that is connected to godliness. That's what we need to do. That's what we need to do. That's our obligation. We need to reveal this light and live by it. The Torah is your wisdom and your understanding. Your way of life is Torah way of life. Because the life of the soul needs to be revealed in a Jewish body, that his life is godly. And that's the focus of his life, and that's what he does. Everything else is secondary. That's when the neshama is revealed within me, and I live a godly life. At the same time as I live a physical life, I live a godly life. Everything I do is for the sake of heaven. And I know God within every situation that I go through in life. That's real chachma. That's revelation of chachma. That's true revelation of wisdom within me. I live with wisdom. I live a different life. As it says, wisdom gives life to those who possess it. The soul will possess the faculty within, receives its life by the means of this faculty, as stated above. And I can create. I have that capability because within this, in my soul, that has the wisdom of God, has the infinite wisdom of the wisdom of God. And therefore, by me connecting to this infinite wisdom, I become part of this item. And every Jew has this. Be it who it may be. Some of us, it's more hidden. Some of us, it's more revealed. In a tzaddik, self-understood, it's totally revealed. Ulapamim, and therefore the Alter Rebbe puts in parentheses. Ulapamim, and therefore there are times, Amshichim, Peishi, Yisrael, Neshamas, Gevayas. The sinners of Israel may bring down their children very lofty souls. Amka Klipper, very lofty. We have been in the depths of Klippers. Commercial Kosip say for Gogulam, as brought down in the book of reincarnations. So it doesn't make a difference because the soul was given by God. And when the Eibishter gives a person a really powerful soul, he can give it through anybody. He can give it through a tzaddik. He can give it through a non-tzaddik. We see that in the Torah itself. Rivka. Avram Avinu himself came from big idol worshippers. Rivka came from big, bad people. Rachel and Leah come from Lavan. And Eibishter wants to send a soul down to this world, and he wants this soul to be whatever it might be. Eibishter gives that capability for anybody, because as long the Eibishter gives you the capability to bring down a soul, you have the capability to bring down a very high soul. And maybe you without your knowledge, you bring down a very high soul. That's why it says, the Gemara writes that no parent is jealous of the success, spiritual or financial, physical success of their children. They want the children to be greater than them. How is it possible to bring children that are greater than them? Because the Eibishter gives the neshama, and that's why the neshama can be greater, much greater than your child can be much greater than you. So that's what happened ultimately to Rami Yanki. Yanki redeemed his parents and his grandparent. Yanki Avinu's soul came from a much greater place, and he ultimately used his soul to elevate Sai himself, for himself, and Sai his father, and Sai his grandfather. He redeemed the whole situation. He uplifted the whole situation. So Avram Avinu had Yishmael and another 6 children, and Yitzchak had Esav. Yaakov Avinu redeemed the whole situation, made a perfect situation. Mitase Shlema, so to say, he brought about a completion and a total situation. He had, in essence, a great shalom. That's what he's called. The Chidush Shabbos. Yaakov Avinu was the choicest of the patriarchs. And Avram was not jealous; he was happy. They had a grandson, Yaakov Avinu. And Yitzchak himself was not jealous; they had a son, Yaakov Avinu. So a soul that is fallen captive in the hand of clippers remains in this state until the clipper releases it from of their own will. Anything that in the hold of clippers cannot be wrested from them against their will. For the principle of God does not make the unjustifiable demands of his creation. Hold true even in regard to klippos. In the case of a child who is born to sinful parents, the klippa willingly releases the soul in the hope that such a child will be influenced by its parents and become a sinner like them. In this way, the klippa stands to extract an even greater measure of vitality from the holiness of the soul by the means of its sinful acts, eventual sin. However, having such a lofty soul, the child is able to overcome the obstacle imposed by the parent's wickedness and may rise to a level of a tzaddik. In this way, paradoxical, it comes to pass that a tzaddik may be born to wicked parents actually because of their wickedness. Wow. According to this, so the essence that the that's free choice. That ultimately a child cannot say that I was born to wicked parents if I don't have free choice. But actually, after you're born to wicked parents, the klippa actually releases you. According to this, klippa actually releases you. See what's going to be your free choice. Are you going to go in the way of your parents? And that will be great for the klippa that you will go in the way of your parents. Or are you going to do your free choice? And are you going to redeem your parents? Are you going to actually change yourself and overcome the challenges of klippas that you were born with? And are you going to become even a better person? So going back to Rivka, Rivka was called a rose because she was a rose between the thorns. So she was born in a thorny bush, but ultimately came out a beautiful rose. And that's the beauty. So ultimately, Rivka had the capability to overcome her challenges that were given to her by her parents. And the klippa gave her that chance. The klippa itself, covering itself, the challenge itself, gave her the chance to be herself. Because if the klippa would not let her do it, then maybe the person would never have the chance to become something great. And therefore, we see the opposite, that we can have parents, or people can have parents that are wicked, and they are very extremely righteous. It's because the klippa gave them that chance to be righteous. That completes the Tanya of today. Today is the 8th day of the month, which is chapter 44 to chapter 48. If you do those 5 chapters, you do the Tillim of the day. And the Mitzvah tonight, we're going to mention, first of all, today at 10 o'clock, we will have a class in the Parsha of the week, Sikh of the Rebbe. Everybody's welcome to participate, or come to Chabad, or on Zoom, or on Torah Direct. Also tonight, as we go to Yud Shvat, 10th day of Shvat, which is the Yortzeit of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, and the leadership of the present Lubavitcher Rebbe. We're having a Farbrengen tonight at 7:30 here at Chabad. Everybody is welcome to come, men and women, and we're going to Farbrengen. We have a guest Farbrengen.
What's your brother like?
You have to come and see.
I'm gonna.
Tonight at 7:30, come. He'll Farbrengen with us, and we'll be inspired. We have music and some songs, so we'll sing together and we'll learn together. And we'll connect to tzaddikim, to the Rebbe and to the Frierdiker Rebbe, and we'll be inspired to continue the ways of Chassidus and the ways of Yiddishkeit.
So is he your older brother or your younger brother?
One second. So with I invite you all in Mirz Hashem tonight at 7:30, and if sure tomorrow at 8 o'clock we'll continue the Chitas of the day. Have a wonderful and beautiful day.